isn't actually showing anything.
Okay. It's going now.
So, okay,
Do you want me to read that again? I think
no,
it did record.
as long as it recorded, it'll be available.
I've not double checked to make sure that works, but it did record. I'll be publishing this, so we'll have it.
Will that be published as part of the packet with your budget evaluation?
Yes. Yeah, I'll put it in there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't read this. I almost feel like we should read it again.
Go ahead.
I'm fine with you reading it
Okay,
again.
go ahead.
Okay. Over the past month, we've been working. I apologize again that we thought this was being broadcast, and I think it is recorded, but just in case, I need people to have this information. Over the past month, we've been working on revising the budget for your fiscal year 25. We are finding some concerns that I need to share with you before we are done with the first FY25 revision. We have discovered that we're predicted to be over budget by around $700,000 this year. There are several factors that have contributed to this that I will share tonight. First is our transportation budget. Second is our payroll budget. And the third is a large number of bills that were not paid from previous school years. The biggest reason is our transportation budget, and it was predicted to be over by about $400,000 this year. That's largely due to an increase in special education routes. It's almost entirely due to that. Next, we are finding our payroll budget is over by about $200,000. One thing we have noted is that when the budget was put together last year, it did not reflect all of the salaries. There were several elementary school teachers who were not coded as part of the elementary payroll. There is one line with all of the revenue on one side and the payroll on the other, but 3 teachers were listed on different lines, which had no revenue listed on the other to support their salaries. I don't understand why this data was not represented in the proposed budget that was presented to us back in May and June of 24. The last main issue is the amount of bills that have not been paid. Two bills came to us. Where am I at here? 2 bills came to us for landscaping services that were done a year, 2 years, and 3 years ago. These 2 bills totaled nearly $90,000. Those were bills that we never received prior to September. The first one in September and the second one in January. There were, however, a large amount of bills that were just never paid in fiscal year 24, which should have been charged to last year's budget. Those totaled around $100,000. We started to find out about these late last summer when concerns came to light about our former business manager's handling of money. This sparked an ongoing investigation, and the board discussed initial concerns with our attorney in a closed session in late September. Because these concerns relate to the district's current budget concerns and decisions coming before the board, I'm providing more information about them tonight. On August 16th, 2024, I was informed that there were some strange incidents that had been happening which by themselves did not seem alarming. However, over the course of a couple of months, caused some employees to inform the administration of their concerns. Among several concerns was the issue of 2 lap desks. These are desks that you might use to have breakfast in bed or while sitting on the floor. They showed up on our Amazon order, were delivered, but nobody ever saw them at the school. We were able to determine that the former business manager took these home for personal use. Upon learning of this, I immediately contacted Justin McGraw, our lead auditor from CDS CPAs and Accountants out of Wilmer. I asked him if he thought this was something they could look into when they showed up on site for our audit, which was set to happen during the first week in September. I also contacted Todd Frank and our attorney Kristen Nierengarten to see if they agreed with this approach, which they did. On the final day of our audit, September 5th, 2024, the former business manager was asked about these desks. She denied having seen them, but resigned later that day. The next morning, I filed a police report in the Olivia Police Department and enlisted the help of the BCA to do an investigation. We also made a report to the state auditor's office. After her resignation, I received a package in the mail which included a cashier's check for $80. Check was attached to a note that indicated that this was to pay for the desks. After this, Treasurer Sandy Benson came in and assisted with the beginning of the financial review. She was alarmed to discover a large amount of checks from as far back as April, which had never been cashed. After the business manager resigned, I had her emails routed to me and started becoming bombarded by emails from companies that were waiting for payments that had been billed many months prior to September. One was for over $12,000 that had been asking for payment for over 220 days. It seemed like every day for the next month, I was receiving more emails with the same story. At least $100,000 of these purchases should have been paid in the fiscal year 24 budget and now have to come out of this year's budget. As we investigated these financial irregularities, we found strange purchases on our credit card statement, including charges to a company that only handles auto loans. I should note we don't have an auto loan. Christine noticed a charge for CenterPoint Energy, which itself isn't strange. We use CenterPoint Energy, but she informed me that our CenterPoint bill was paid out of an automatic bank draft and never by credit card. I contacted CenterPoint and they would not tell me who owned the account. They did let me know that the account did not belong to our school district. Sergeant Aaron Klaus is working on a warrant to find out who is the actual owner of this account. Christine made another discovery about 2 months into the investigation. There was a deposit made from concessions income for around $13,000, which contained no cash, only checks. One of the checks was a $9,000 rebate from our workman's comp insurance. The cash that should have been deposited remains unaccounted for. In addition to working with law enforcement, we enlisted Jason Olson, a partner at Eide Bailey, to perform a forensic audit so we can be reasonably sure of what actually happened over the past year. Since last September, we have been updating our procedures for handling money. We are limited who is able to receive money and how it is handled before being delivered to the district office and how it is handled after it's been delivered. Every transaction is required to have a receipt. This has always been the expectation, but has not been well enforced. I review random purchase orders to make sure they are well documented and inspect each credit card purchase. There will be more to report about this in the future. I did consult with the Olympia Police Department to make sure they are okay with what I have said in this update. The criminal investigation and full forensic audit are not yet complete, so I will not be elaborating on anything else at this time. To address the problem with our transportation budget, we have eliminated a couple routes for the rest of this year. I've met with Joe Schiefert of Superior Transportation to discuss the issue. He is confident it is our special education routes that are the issue. While that very well may be, I told him that we needed to go out for bids so that we can know for certain we are getting the best deal possible for both. I can't elaborate too much on this, but if anybody has questions, I can talk to some of it. Otherwise,
Any questions for Jim?
So Jim, as far as the budget on the busing portion, is it just, how much was it off on about 300, did you say? Or
it's about $400,000 over we are budgeted for.
And that has increased that much in the last year? Just that portion?
The special ed, yes. You know, we've got some kids that are driven one to Mankato, and these aren't cheap. We're looking at, there's 2 routes that we're pretty sure we can close. There's a third where we think we can probably close to, and that comes to like $13,000 a month. So special ed routes are expensive. We've actually considered maybe we purchase some of our own vans and do some of our own driving because it's reimbursable by the state. Problem with special ed reimbursements is that what we're paying out of our general fund this year gets reimbursed probably next year, and sometimes it takes another year to get that done. So that's what one thing we think we can do.
And I guess I have 2 questions. One, we're now up to date on all payments to vendors, correct?
As far as we know, yep, we haven't had anything come in since November.
Okay. So that was my first question. And then we've resolved with the landscaping vendor about remitting timely invoices.
Yes, so I haven't heard back yet, but I did say that, you know, before I signed a contract with them, that I wanted something in there saying that we are not responsible for paying bills that are more than 45 days late.
Is that something we should actually just have a policy on ourselves? That anybody who's a contractor, that's
Yeah,
one of the
maybe.
things they have to abide by?
That's something we can certainly put in our and
Yeah.
pass in a bold policy along. So
Yeah, we'd have to really work hard to make sure everybody understood that
It would have to be shared with any of our vendors.
with all of our vendors, yeah.
Is that feasible, Jim?
Let me do some checking on that. It's never, as far as I know, it's never been a problem. But it really hurts us. You know, if regular business just puts money away and they're fine with that. Our money now, this has to come out of our general operating fund for this year. We don't have maintenance funds set aside for it. And that most people don't understand that. But it's a lot of money to be sitting on though too.
Did we ever get a total of all the late fees?
I talked to Nicole. It's hard to put that
Specify
together.
that.
I will say that I was surprised that not a lot of them. I
usually I won't do a late fee until it's 90 days.
yeah, even that 220. I don't know that there was a big one. I seem to remember that there last year though we had an ongoing problem of our MICO bill getting paid on time, and I believe last year it was around. Do you remember about $2,000 in late fees? Is what we were told. Missy,
I feel like there was
that's
several.
what I.
Yeah.
And the person doing the reporting that was informed that she should put that in as miscellaneous, so that it didn't set off any alarms.
Okay, any other questions on the budget evaluation update?
Were we under budget the year before this?
Yeah, by a little bit.
I think we were like 1% under.
Yeah, it was close.
This would put us about the calculation about 6.5% over.
Yeah, I guess that's about right.
Which is significant.
Yeah.
If we don't, but we're making corrections, so it should be less than.
Another thing we did find that was like, and Christine explained this to Sandy and to Todd. When you look at our transportation budget, last year we ended the year paying $1.28 million for all of our transportation, and but for whatever reason that we only budgeted $1.2 million for this year, and that's not something that we saw. It's not something that I saw, because those aren't the numbers that we get shown. We just saw that the general fund budget was this, and we were coming in under budget.
There wasn't enough elaboration behind it
Yeah.
to detail.
And
It
if
was just,
anybody ever
here's
wants
the
to,
number.
yeah, if anybody ever wants to come in, I can kind of, even citizens, I can kind of show what it takes to dive into this. You guys kind of saw the back end of it, and you have to rely on what information you're given. But
Okay, anything else? All right, let's move on to the second part of your report, the Director of Buildings and Grounds.
okay, thank you. Yes.
Search, Jim.
So we received 8 applications.
Really?
Yeah. And shout out to Randy Turstig, who said, "Why don't you put it on Indeed?" And I'm like, okay. And Nancy put it on Indeed, and immediately, like within 24 hours, we got an application in. And of the 8 applications we got in, I think 6 of them, Nancy, is that right? I think 6 of them were off of Indeed.
Yep.
And we didn't have to pay for Indeed because they kept contacting Nancy saying, hey, you got to finish setting up so you can see all these applications that are coming in. But we were getting them anyway, so bye bye the cow. Let's see. Actually all 8 applications were pretty good. We actually called 5 for interviews. We ended up scheduling 4 of those. So we're going to do interviews on Monday, and hopefully we'll be able to recruit. I'm pretty confident we're going to get some. And yeah.
Are they local or can't you say?
I guess I think I can now that we've scheduled interviews with them, but they're if I had them off the top of my head, I could just tell you names, but yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. So
When do you start interviews?
Monday, and then I've got admin team's going to help with that, and then Randy Turstig has agreed to help as well. So as the chair of our facilities committee, I thought that was appropriate.
So you have 3 people on the interview committee?
No. I've invited all of the admins.
Okay.
So I know Chris is going to be there. Missy, did you respond to? Margaret's going to be there. Derek said he'd be there. Tim Holden. I asked Tim Holden to come down.
Okay, good.
So it'll be a good group.
Any other questions for Jim on the building and grounds director search? Okay. Jim, you want to move on then to your report on the Capitol?
Yeah, so I put a lot in this description. I wasn't sure how this was going to show up, so I kind of like it. Last Thursday, actually Wednesday night, went up to the Southwest Service Co-op's Day at the Capitol. They do this every year, and the superintendents from the SWWC, I think there was about 15 of us that got together, and we had dinner with some of the legislators that night. And it was kind of fun to sit at tables and talk to them. There were, as far as I could tell, no Democrats showed up. It was interesting. So I don't know if that was a political thing, but it was definitely noted. But I had great conversation with Scott Van Bidsbergen. Seems like a real nice guy. And seems like somebody that really has a passion for southern or rural Minnesota. So, and some of the things that we talked about there's 4 big concerns. There's a lot of concerns we have when it comes to our funding for the coming years. Evidently, the current proposed state budget shows a small surplus, but there's some concerns that for the next biennium, it could be a $5 to $6 billion deficit. So that's concerning. We should know a lot more with I think March 1st, the funding forecast comes out, beginning of March. So we're all kind of waiting to see what that looks like. I hope they're wrong with the second part. But one of the things that's really these are all unfunded mandates that we were hit with last year. One of them is the earned, safe, and sick time. I made some notes here because there's some stuff I want to make sure I say. The ESST time, a lot of people don't even know about this. Every single employer out there is required to provide ESST time, employees safe and sick, earn safe and sick time. Thanks. Meaning you have to give time off the employee doesn't even have to give a reason for needing the time off for the first 3 days of a 3-day in a row illness or whatever. If it's more than 3 days in a row, they do need to give a reason for it. But one of the things that's hitting schools especially hard is that we've negotiated contracts with our employees for a long time, and one of the things we've negotiated you can build up your sick time. Well, all of that now by law becomes ESST time. So off the top of my head, I forget how many days our teachers can build up, but let's say it's 120 maybe. In theory, if you had built up enough sick time, you could take off every Monday or every Friday forever and not have to give a reason for it. Another issue and this is hitting employers who need substitutes extremely hard because so like hospitals, if your doctor's sick and you got a surgery, you try to get another doctor in. With schools, when you think about this, anytime you have a substitute, you're now paying two people to do one person's job because the employee gets it, which, I mean, we all deserve sick time. That's not the problem. But we actually had one incident this year where, as an employer, our substitute teachers earn safe and sick time. We had a substitute take a sub job and then call in sick. So we had to pay a substitute for the substitute for the teacher. So we paid three people that day to do that job. But one thing I did note is that I wonder if I write this one down. Let me see. When I look at substitute teacher pay for this year, at this point last year, as of the February 15th payroll, we were at $57,500 for sub pay. And this year we're at $61,860, which, I mean, that's in the ballpark. That's not that huge of a jump. Every penny counts. And especially we go into negotiations and if everybody's being sick, it just takes money out of the pot we have to negotiate for future salaries. That's the ESST time. I want to talk a little bit about the unemployment insurance.
Can I ask one
Oh
question?
yeah, go ahead.
So if we're already offering them sick time in their contract,
Mhm.
this is over and above that?
It's not over and above, but we have to. There's a couple things we have to do. We have to either front load. Nancy, do you recall how many days it is? I think it's 4. It doesn't matter. We have to either front load that time, or if we make them accrue it over the year, we could do that. But then we have to agree to pay that out at the end of the year. So we have front loaded, so we don't have to worry about paying that out at the end of the year.
But this isn't for all of them.
This is no, that's
This is just for the paras and those, not the staff teachers.
this is everybody.
Teachers too?
Yep.
Oh, I thought
Everybody
they were
qualifies.
salaried. It's different.
I think I qualify for ESST.
Mhm.
Nancy's not.
I don't know.
So even though I can, I'm not going to take every Monday. Yeah. So did I answer your question? I'm not sure if I did.
Yeah, but for some reason that doesn't sound right. But that's okay. I'll look into it myself.
Take a look, and
Yeah.
I might have said something wrong.
No, I don't think you did. From what you're, I don't think salary is included. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we have to pay them out if we don't front load the days.
And I could be totally wrong on that. But
Unless they change that. They did make some changes to it during the summer, but it was really hard to follow all of the different things because, like that, there's the unemployment insurance. So any 9-month employee, other than teachers, this does not apply to teachers, but all of our salaried 9-month employees, which are mainly paras, could be some of the administrative assistants and food service, but they now qualify for unemployment during that time on. I did some checking in fiscal year 23. Our total unemployment that we paid out was $16,851. And This year, in just the summer months, it was $30,239. So it almost doubled, and that was before the school year started. Some of the frustrations that we voiced to the legislature was, we had, and almost all schools had people that took advantage of that all summer long and didn't come back to work in the fall. So we've done a lot of things that are paying people to not work, and it's hurting school districts especially. Any questions on unemployment? All right. There's two more things. Compensatory revenue. Our compensatory revenue aid has traditionally been calculated through using free and reduced lunch applications. And we, once last year they started doing the free lunch program, another unintended consequence was, why would I need to fill out the free and reduced lunch form? You get free lunch. So schools all over were being hit with that, and so government had a great solution. We're gonna instead of using that, we're gonna use a process called direct certification, which I really don't understand, but it's a way of seeing income levels in a given area. But the problem with direct certification is that our levels are calculated like on our October 1st child count and all of that. With the direct certification, you might have a job until say November, and then you go on. Well, now you would qualify, but you didn't at the beginning of the school year. So schools across the board, almost, I don't know the percentage, but it's the lion's share of school districts are finding that they're losing compensatory aid. Bold is projected to be down $179,820 next year. And I poked around at some of our area school districts just to see if we were all in the same boat. ACGC is by far the luckiest. They are only down 29,000 next year. At RCW, they're going to be down 129,000. Redwood Falls is down 208,000 next year. BLHS is down 136,000. Limey 103,000. So everybody is just getting whacked by this, and it's just it's frustrating. It's like, well, we got a lot of money in a surplus. Let's spend it, and now there's consequences. Any questions on compensatory?
That'll go to fiscal year 26. You're saying that or is that the fiscal year 20?
That's for fiscal year 26. Yes.
26.
Yeah, that's the one bit of good news I can get. The fourth thing I'll mention is there were a bunch of other things that we talked about with legislators, but it's the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act. This is proposed to take, currently scheduled to take place on January 1st of next year, and to pay for this, every employer needs to pay a payroll tax of 0.88% on each employee. And the employer is required to pay at least 50% of that. Of the employees 0.88. Employers may decide to pay all 100% of it, or they're allowed to give half or part of that, pass that on to the employee to have that pay for themselves. With all of these things, we're kind of the agreement that most of our staff doesn't really care about most of this stuff. They would much rather have this money going to help pay for their health insurance. You know, at Bold, a family health insurance plan is around $29,000, and you know, a teacher gets, off the top of my head, I don't remember what a teacher gets paid for their family plan, but I want to say it's around $7,000 or $8,000. It's not. It's a lot of that comes out of pocket. We have paras that have this job for family insurance that end up over the summer having to write us a check because their paychecks just aren't big enough. We have teachers that are running into that too. You know, it's tough. So that's a place where all of our employees could have benefited from this, but instead it went to all of these other things. And I don't want to get on a soapbox about any of that stuff. I'm half up on it. There's reasons to talk to your legislators, and they want to hear this stuff. And you know, it's we felt we were preaching to the choir with the legislators that we spoke with. So hopefully, if people know other non-Republican legislators, talk to them. Tell them the schools are being harmed. No, with the way the makeup is, in order to fix this, people will have to decide how to maybe to vote on the other side of an aisle or something. Again, I'm trying not to get on a soapbox, but that's not what this is for. But it's accurate.
It's really put us in a predicament.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, any other questions for Jim on the WWC Day at the Capitol? Okay, let's move on to part 4 of your report, Jim.
Okay.
Proposed calendar for fiscal year 26.
Yeah, proposed calendar. I included that for your reading pleasure. We'll be voting on this at the March 20-something board meeting, and there was the 1 year I guaranteed that there were no errors. Remember, Sandy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to do that again, especially publicly, because there's still egg on my face for that one. But we're like 98% confident that we've got things counted out properly. It's amazing how elusive the calendar can be, though. So take a look. If there's any questions, we worked hard to get snow makeup days, put it back into that. We really question the effectiveness of snow days that are online. So I'd much rather see kids have that snow day back.
Well, I just had one question on it. So I was looking at the number of days within each quarter, and we go from 36 to 51, which is a pretty wide swing. And I was looking at kind of how that lined up with calendar. Is there a way to maybe balance it a little more per quarter?
One of the things we were hoping to be able to do is everybody loves the fact the last day of first semester this year was the last day before Christmas vacation. People love that. And students, staff, I don't think there's a single person that would argue that. It was fantastic. So we really would like to see a way to make that continue, and I think that's kind of where this is coming from. I didn't hear any feedback. Principals, did you hear any feedback on that? It's going to be more from the high school teachers than...
Yeah, they really wanted that to happen. We said that it might not, and I know that it ended up being way lopsided. The first couple times we counted through, it was not that lopsided, so I don't know what happened. But yeah, and if we can't, I mean, if we even out the third and fourth quarter a little bit, it would help. So
Yeah, and in my mind, what I'm thinking about is certain courses are offered only first and second quarter, then you switch third and fourth. And so you essentially are shorting what you might have to get through for required your requirements to get through the material, right? Versus the second half of the year where you have more time to get through the required material.
Yep.
So anyhow, that's why I bring that point up.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll keep talking to them and we'll figure out something that's an amicable agreement.
Yeah.
I don't know about you folks, but I've heard almost nothing but positives about starting 2 weeks early. And I know right now the way state law is, where schools are not allowed to start before Labor Day unless they've got a special project or a good reason for not being able to or needing to start 2 weeks or a week early. But it's nice. That's the transportation lobby. We got a lot of soapboxes today, sorry. But that's the big push. It used to be that the egg workers needed kids for the harvest, but yeah, they just need a combine that can drive itself now, right? Something like that. But it isn't needed nearly as much as it used to be 10, 20, 50 years ago. It's just kind of become the tradition that school's out for 3 months in the summer. But there's a lot of states or a lot of school districts, not so much in Minnesota, but they'll do what's called a 45-15 calendar, where you have 45 days on, 15 days off. So essentially 9 weeks of school, 3 weeks of vacation, 9 weeks, and it just keeps going year round. So if you hear year round school, that's almost guaranteed that that's what that is. There's a lot of benefits to that too. But I won't get into it now because this is not time for that. So,
Yeah.
And I've had enough speaking.
Okay. Let's move on to Chris and our PK through 6 principal report.
I will be quick. The enrollment is there. You know, the end of January, we celebrated our 100th day of school, which was a lot of fun. You can see we had a substitute kindergarten teacher there in the picture. I think she called herself Mrs. Beezer. Anyways, February is I Love to Read month. We've had mystery readers. We had the book fair. The next point there, I apologize, I don't have a total for conferences. I like to give you kind of an idea of how many, like a percentage of how many parents. I don't have every classroom's total, so I can get that to you. We did have a spelling bee. That was a lot of fun. Zach Swanson went to the regional. He did not finish in first place, but we're very proud of Zach. Student council. So this is something that has this has come up out of our PBIS team. We actually I have had a lot of fun with this. I think the kids too, we're actually voting tomorrow. The kids will vote on a president, a vice president, and then representatives from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Family engagement night is next Tuesday evening. We did have to close the RSVP for the meal because Margaret needed to order the food for next week, but people could still come and play bingo. I've got a ton of books. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then lastly, just that picture of some collaboration happening in Fayette. So it's a lot of fun. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay, let's move on to our next
Thank you.
report, and that will be Missy with our 7th through 12th principal report.
I will also make it quick. Seems like a short time since we were here last. So attendance was down a little bit in some grades, but we were still dealing with a lot of sickness throughout the beginning part of February. We still have a lot going on, but it's better. We do have some sick staff though, so there has been some of that. The Minnesota Student Survey will begin this week. We did get out the permission slips to parents, and we did get not quite a few. We did get some back where parents are refusing their students to take the test or to take the survey, and that's okay. So we'll get that going. We are adding an art exhibit to our concerts at the end of the year. So the middle school and high school concerts will have an art exhibit with our art students, obviously supplying the work, but we're going to add that to the spring concerts to make it more of a fine arts night or event. And also our art department is working with the fire department to restore an old mascot that they had. It's really cool. Have you seen it?
No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's a Dalmatian statue, and they're going to restore it to its.
Is this Rhode Island Fire Department, Olivia Fire Department?
Yeah, one of them.
One of them.
I'm pretty
Like
sure it's the Olivia Fire Department, but I'm not for certain. I feel like that's what it is. So, we started advertising for our tier 1 positions that we have open. We do have a few of those that we are required by law to advertise for. It's not, we want to keep those teachers, but we have to have those positions posted for 60 days. Today, we started our Mindful Monday Minute. So over the loudspeaker, Christina led us through just a little guided Monday meditation to kick off the day. And we are hoping to continue that. So just simply a minute of this morning, it was just, taking 3 mindful breaths together as a collective in the school to get it going. Next week, Daryl will lead it. Katie Ball will take a turn. I'll take a turn leading that. So hopefully just a little sense of community for 1 minute, kicking off our Monday mornings in a positive way. We got notification from our school nurse that she's working on getting immunization records back from some of our students and running into some roadblocks and wondering if we had any ideas on how to collect those. And I don't at this point, but lastly, we'll be moving, some teachers will be moving rooms in March already. So the construction will hit us and it's going to be fun. So, and we'll have 3 rooms or 2 rooms for sure that they would like to start on before the end of school. One of them is the wrestling room, which really won't affect much, but the other one is the egg room. They're asking to get in there by May 12th, and Skylar has agreed to that. So we'll be making accommodations for her classes the last week of school, probably doing some experiential learning and maybe some place-based stuff going on in that last week. So if you have questions. And Brady Kicker will be wrestling at the state tournament this week, so that's pretty cool.
Indeed.
Any questions for Missy by the board? Okay. Let's move on to our next agenda item. That would be our activities report from Derek. I've got the report up on the board book. Any questions for Jim? Derek's always available, email or a phone call as well. Okay. Nothing with the activities report. We'll move on to the community ed report, and just knowing that the community summer rec program information will be ready for next month, and there's not a report this month. So any questions on that?
I should add that the pool is being filled now.
Well, pool report is next.
Oh, is it next? Did I jump? No.
No, well, yeah, it would be. So pool report.
Oh, sorry about that. Mine's highlighted up here. I don't know why that is. Hey, can I mention that the pool's being filled as we speak here? So it doesn't fill up fast, but I would. And once it is full, it takes another 10 weeks or 10 days to get everything balanced out and make it look like the kind of water you want touching your skin.
So they've been all the interior work
It's all
is
done. Yep, all done.
Wow.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see that after the meeting, I can run over there. But
Okay. And of course, Tracy's always available with any questions as well as the pool director. Okay, let's move on to our next item. That would be a facilities report. So members Benson, Sheehan, or Peppel, do you have anything from the last facilities committee meeting to report?
We had a presentation from Nexus. We had a presentation on an Eagle Scout project where they wanted to do a project at the property we own just south of the baseball diamond. The consensus of the committee was we, as a school, we don't really want to take on something else that we have to maintain at this point. So we're offering to give that land to the city of Bird Island, much like we did with the splash pad. I was told that by Tracy All that right now they're trying to get a grant, and so they're worried that could, I don't know exactly do what, but they're worried that could hinder getting this grant for whatever reason. I didn't ask. So I said I suggested that they talk to them about maybe an MOU where they agree that we'll do this as soon as their grant process is finished. So we'll see how that goes.
Any other questions on facilities? I'll add on policies committee. So we're now to the point where we have all the policies that written to date have an electronic version available, and we have it compiled for the 100 through 900 series. Everything that we've approved over these past few years with existing policies, the PDFs versions, all put in one place and ready to roll out to the public. Now that we've got, we're working through getting our policy stuff all updated, and by the end of the year, we should be essentially updated, except for changes that have started to come back through behind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
once we get this done, something you might consider is doing a presentation on this at the school board NSBA conference.
our process.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
because we're way ahead of what most school districts are doing with their policies. So,
Do we have a spreadsheet with all these in and with the dates and everything?
Yes.
So you sort it?
Yep, and
Perfect.
it goes out because we're via the policy of policies. We're supposed to review every 3 years, and by law as well. And it's forecast out through, I don't know, like 2028 right now on the spreadsheet of when policies would be reviewed. So, in finding that, we found some. One policy came to light that had been previously passed by the board but was never posted. So that one is now listed and will be reviewed this year.
Like the service animal policy too. That'll be,
Yeah.
says that defines a service animal as either a dog or a miniature horse. That's a policy we have. That's an actual thing. Yeah.
So anyhow, we have that will be going back through. So, but we're way further along than we were 18 months ago. So on that. Anyhow, I
We're
wanted,
going through a lot of those.
I enjoy doing that meticulous stuff. So
Thank goodness.
okay, I digress. Let's move on to new business. So there we go. So the first one would be policy 304. It's a first reading on no, that's not right. 304 is later. Never mind. That's later. I'm not sure why that is up in that part of the agenda. Somehow that's on there twice.
Have approved the release.
It should be set 8A, and that's approving the release of a request for proposal. This is our first new business item for student transportation services, and authorize the superintendent / designated staff to develop and distribute the RFP and oversee the bid process. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by member Peppel and seconded by member Benson to approve the release of request for proposal, the RFP for student transportation services, and authorize the superintendent / designated staff to develop and distribute the RFP and oversee the bid process. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
One of the things that brought this about is that I was talking with another superintendent and on video actually, and our total bill is projected to be this year about 1.6 million. And Montevideo's projected FY25 transportation bill is they're predicting to be about 818,000. So now one of the big differences is that Montevideo has all of their special ed services happening at places in Montevideo. So you know, if we spent 400,000 on special ed service, that's already jumping way up there. So, but again, I don't know. This is worth checking out.
Considering the budget pressures we're under, I feel this is an important thing for us to do, where we can confirm that we're in line. Any other discussion on approving the release of request for proposal for student transportation services? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on approving the release of request for proposal for student transportation services and authorize the superintendent and designated staff to develop and distribute the RFP and oversee the bid process. All members in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to the next item. That would be the 8B, to approve the update to the 2024 through 2025 calendar. Is there a motion to approve the update to the 2024 through 2025 school calendar? You'll make the motion, Brad? Okay. Is there a second? It's been moved by member Rederath and seconded by member Sheehan to approve the update to the 2024 through 2025 calendar. Jim, do you want to speak to that, please?
Yeah, so as I sent you some information on this earlier today, the one change is it was actually brought to us by an 8th grader who asked, why is the last day of school a half day and Wednesday of that week is a half day? And well, that's a good question. And so it made sense to all of us that why don't we make Wednesday a full day, make Thursday the last day of school, and then we can still have Friday available as a snow makeup day if needed. And I thought it was a good idea. Principals thought it was a good idea. So
The only thing I'm thinking of is they're gonna lose that PLC day.
they will, but we've got.
And that's been such a big thing that if we lose that half a day for them.
It's the very last one of the year, I think.
We will also have to rearrange some letters training. But I think with this far out and because we're using the co-op for that training, I don't think it'll be a problem. I'll reach out to them.
So that would be the concern with moving forward with this motion. Any other discussion?
The second part of this is actually kind of amusing, sort of. I got an email from I think Chris, Monsieur Chris, who asked if President's Day was a holiday for teachers. I said, yeah, it's not a working day, and so that's what we clarified. And then somebody came and told us, no, you're wrong. Look at the calendar, and we all thought, well, I guess you're right. It is a working day because the calendar on our website did have President's Day as a teacher work day because that's what it used to be. And so they all came in. Nobody really complained, And they did the day, and then somebody did some digging and realized, oh no, it wasn't. It was supposed to be just a day off. So the teachers decided, well, we'll fix this. So they suggested on Valentine's Day we had a half day of professional development, and then on the very last day of their contract year, there was another half day of professional development. They said, since we already did a full day here, could we take this day and then the last half day and make it good? I talked to Todd, and we all thought that was a very reasonable request. So that's the second half of this. I have no idea why the wrong calendar was posted after it was approved, but whatever.
I don't know how it got posted,
Yeah.
the incorrect calendar.
And it doesn't matter.
But this corrects everything. And
Yeah.
so, any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, then we'll proceed to vote on approving the update to the 2024-2025 calendar. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and the update to the 2024-25 calendar is approved. Okay, let's move on to our next item. And this would be, I don't like how it doesn't have spaces on this. It'd be the third and final reading of policy 515 and the 515.1 form, which is the protection and privacy of pupil records. Is there a motion to approve the final reading?
So moved, Benson.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Benson and seconded by member Peppel to approve the final and third reading of our policy 515 and the 515.1 form, the protection and privacy of pupil records with records. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the policy 515 and the 515.1 form for protection and privacy of pupil records as published, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and policy 515 and the .1 form are approved. Okay, let's move on to our next item, and that would be the policy 305. This is the policy implementation. So we look at the policy. There's very minor changes to the policy outlined in red, and so it's recommended that because we have very minor changes, that this would be a first and final reading of policy 305, our policy implementation. Is there a motion?
So moved, Benson.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by, member Benson and seconded by member Sheehan to approve policy 305, policy implementation as a first and final reading. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All members in favor of approving policy 305 as published, which is policy implementation, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and the policy 305 policy implementation is approved. Okay, let's move on to the next new business. This would be our first and final reading of policy 304, the superintendent contract duties and evaluation. So this one, again, has very minor changes. You see the changes marked in red on the policy. So because they're so minor, we can do a first and final reading tonight of policy 304. Is there a motion?
So moved, Peppel.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by member Peppel and seconded by member Benson to approve policy 304, superintendent contract duties and evaluation, as posted in the board packet. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on approving Policy 304, Superintendent Contract Duties and Evaluation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries and policy 304 is passed. Okay, let's move on to new business, item F. Second here to get my I think I'm finally figuring out what I need to always push on here. So the next would be first and final reading of policy 302, superintendent. And so essentially, this is an existing policy with some very, very minor updates, essentially the revision year, and there's really no changes to it. So is there a motion to approve policy 302, superintendent?
So moved, Benson.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Benson and seconded by member Rederath to have a first and final reading to approve policy 302, superintendent. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All members in favor of approving policy 302, superintendent, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries and policy 302 passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda would be a second reading of policy 100.1, name of the school district. And this would be scheduled for, now this is a new policy, so this would be scheduled for approval at the March meeting. And so there's no action tonight except a review by the community and the board. And if there's any suggested changes, please contact Mariella, Jim, or myself. Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss on policy 101.1, naming of the school district tonight? Anything to discuss? Okay. With that, then we will move on to our next item. And this would be the first reading of policy 208, which is development, adoption, and implementation of policies. This is an existing policy. Do I get it to go to page 2? Can it just slide up or not? Oh, it did. And so if you look at part 5, part D, it would be adding where 722, the public data requests would be an annually read policy. So that's the recommended change to this policy that we have existing. And so other than that, there's just a few reference how it's worded changes on the second page. And oh, I can't get it to go back. Oh, there it did. And then just a little note at the top that was added in. So again, this is a first reading and we're looking at 2 months out from now to have our final reading on this policy. So take a look at it and verify the changes and that you agree with them. And then just let Jim, Mariella, or myself know, look at bringing an edit back to the board. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. And that would be I under new business, and this would be a resolution for acceptance of gifts. So I'll read the resolution. Member
Couple.
Keppel, sorry, I heard.
No.
My left ear hears better than my right, apparently, tonight. Member Peppel introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas Lake Lillian Civic and Commerce Association has generously donated $200 to the Bold Music Boosters, Therefore, be it resolved by the Rhode Island Olivia Lake William Public School District 2534-01 Board to gratefully accept these gifts. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by Member Benson. And upon vote being taken thereon, the following voted in favor thereof. Member Ritterath.
Aye.
Member Pepple.
Aye.
Member Benson.
Okay.
Member Sheehan.
Aye.
And I, Member Frank, am an aye as well. No one voting against and 2 members absent, Member Klaus and Member Assef are absent for this resolution. So the foregoing resolution is approved this 24th day of February, 2025. Okay, that is that item. So with that, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session, enter into closed session under Minnesota Statute 13.13D03 to discuss labor negotiation strategy for upcoming negotiations. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Member Benson and seconded by Member Sheehan to move into closed session under Minnesota Statute 13D03 to discuss labor negotiation strategy for upcoming negotiations. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to move into closed session at 8:18 now, so give us 2 minutes to clear the room and we'll start the closed session at 8:20.